Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eric Osberg, and I will be doing my presentation on the transistor. The transistor is broadly known as the most important invention of the 20th century. It affects every single part of our lives, from our morning cup of coffee to our alarm clock that makes ocean noises when we fall asleep. Every part of our day we come in contact with technology that uses transistors. The transistor was invented in 1947 in Bell Labs by William Shockley, John Bardeen, and Walter Hauser Brattain. They noticed in other experiments that when energy passes through a certain semiconductor, such as germanium, which they use in the transistors, the energy is amplified and more energy comes out than goes in. So they used that idea and they experimented for a couple of years, and they came up with the first transistor, which was about the size of a hand. It was a single transistor, and they actually won the Nobel Prize in 1956 because of it, which is awesome. A transistor is a three-pronged invention that it's kind of an on-off switch, if you want to think about it that way. Energy comes in the collector, and the base is the middle part that has the semiconductor in it that amplifies and turns off or on the flow of current and electrons. And then the emitter is the last, and that is where the energy is emitted from. That's where the energy goes to either the next transistor or the final source of what it's going to do. Before transistors, there were tubes, vacuum tubes. If anybody's familiar with guitar amps, especially nowadays, there's solid state and there are tube amps. Tube amps obviously use the tubes. They take a little bit longer to warm up, but they're more fragile. They use a lot more electricity than the sturdier transistor solid state amp that you can throw off the back of a truck and it's still going to work. Many people's homes had these radios or their TVs, which were big, bulky monstrosities that created a lot of heat in the house. In the 50s, transistor radios were a big thing. If you think about it now, a handheld radio is a portable anything electronic we take for granted. We have cell phones, and for those of us who are a little older, we have Discmen, we have computers in our cars, we have watches that talk to us. Every single thing you touch has a transistor in it, and it has revolutionized life as we know it. You don't have to make phone calls anymore. You can text someone or email. There's numerous different ways to get in contact with somebody right from your phone. It's had a tremendous impact on our culture and society. It is the transistor, when it was first created, revolutionized the electronic world, and it is still doing the same today. We have new products all the time. At the end, they're pretty much the same thing. It's not so much just the physical impact of what the transistor has done as far as electronics, but a lot of the social and cultural, from the music we listen to. Kids these days listen to electronic music, which wouldn't be possible without transistors or computers. It put a lot of products into the middle class or the lower classes price range. They were cheaper. Transistors weren't cheaper to make necessarily, but as time has gone on, they have become much, much cheaper. The very first consumer product was a hearing aid, amazingly. And that just goes right into my next idea, that the benefits of the transistor. It's had such a huge impact on everything we do in our lives, and especially the medical world. It's from CAT scans and surgeries done with robotics now. Pacemakers, dialysis machines, heartbeat monitors. It's all kind of helped, human longevity, human health. We can do tests on food and figure out if there's a outbreak. Another part of it on our lives is internet, social media. Without computers and the internet, we have instant gratification to anything we want. If we want to find somebody, if we want to talk to somebody, if we want to know what Kentucky bluegrass, the chemical compound of it is, we can just go get it. Wasn't so much back in the day. Transistors didn't help with that, but the radios, they could, you could, wherever you were, you got to listen to music, or important baseball games, or just kind of, it has opened the world up in a whole new way that people couldn't do before. They could read about China, but they couldn't see pictures. They couldn't talk to somebody from China. The transistor is a very simple instrument in and of itself. It's not very complex, but what it has done, the way it's been utilized, is amazing. There are first transistor computer was 3 cubic feet. That might seem pretty big to us right now, but considering that the same speed vacuum tube computer was 1,000 square feet, which is the size of a house, small house, was amazing. It used much less power. It was more efficient. It had 800 transistors in there, and these days there's billions and billions in every single, in our computers alone. Yeah, it's just amazing. Every 2 years, the president of Intel said back in around 1970 that every 2 years the number of transistors on a chip would double, and that pretty much has stayed true to this day. Doesn't necessarily mean the speeds have doubled every 10 years or every 2 years, but the number of chips on definitely has. There's new technology out there, nanotechnology and whatnot, that may someday replace transistors, but for the time being, they're a part of our everyday lives. You cannot go a day without dealing with them unless you live in the woods with no GPS beacon or phone or anything. I hope you've learned a little bit about the interesting history of the transistor and its amazing effects on humankind. It's not only has it had physical effects, but it's had far more reaching cultural and social effects. Thank you.